a child by the name of Jeconiah, the young man who will be the theme of this message tonight. This man was born into a household where the parents were trained in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. There was no idol worship in the land of Judah during Jehoiakim's lifetime. There was no idol worshiping during the days of Nehushta, the bride of Jehoiakim. These people did not know the ways of the idols. You would think that everything would be okay. These parents who were trained in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. This child who would have as a grandfather a man who followed the Lord with all of his heart. This child had it made in the eyes of the world. But a few years later, when this child was 7 years old, the people of Jerusalem, the people of Judah, regathered inside the city of Jerusalem, this time for the funeral of King Josiah. Jeremiah, the great prophet, he sang a great lament at this funeral where everybody in the kingdom was at. After a few months of political intrigue, what do we see? This Jehoiakim, a young man who was raised in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. We see him on the throne of his father Josiah. His wife, Nehushta, she is now the queen of Judah. And their son, Jeconiah, 7 years old, he is the crowned prince. You would think that everything would be okay in the land of Judah with these people who were raised in the fear and the admonition of the Lord on the throne. But it was not meant to be for this young couple. They fell into the ways of the idols. They restored the temple of the false gods. They restored the altars. They restored all the sacrifices to the false gods. The ways of the Lord were being ignored. The temple again being ignored. These people, this king and his bride, were now bowing their knee to an idol of stone. And sadly, their child that they were raising was now bowing his knee to this idol of stone. Now, before we go any further, let's ask the question, what went wrong? What went wrong for Jehoiakim? What went wrong? Well, let's start by looking at Josiah for a second. Josiah, he loved the Lord with all his heart. And that's why he did what he did. He served out of a willing heart. He loved, therefore he did. His son, Jehoiakim, and their entire generation, they knew the ways of the Lord, but they did not love the Lord with all their heart. They did not commit themselves to the worship of the Lord. Therefore, their deeds would eventually taper off, and they drifted into idolatry. Those who love the Lord with all of their heart will stay with the Lord. Those who only do things without the love of the Lord in their heart will drift away because they never knew the Lord to begin with. This young couple, Jehoiakim, Nehushta, for the next 11 years raised their son in the ways of the idols, in the ways of the false temple, in the ways of the false altar. And they were training this child to follow in their footsteps. Now understand something. We can say that it is the parents' fault that a child goes into idolatry and worships false gods. However, eventually the burden must be laid on the person himself. Jeconiah made a choice. Would he worship the God of his grandfather, or would he worship the gods of his father and mother? And he chose the gods of his father and mother. He fell deeper and deeper and deeper into idolatry. When this man was 18 years old, his father died. And all of a sudden, this man, Jeconiah, would become the king of all Judah. Now you would think, as the king, he would be able to break free and make the great decision. I will serve the Lord with all my heart. But he doesn't. He continues in the ways of his father. And he continues down the path of idolatry. It was at this time that the great prophet Jeremiah, one of the true voices of the Lord during that time, made the following prophecies about Jeconiah. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 22, picking up with verse 24, "As I live, saith the Lord, though Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, were the signet upon my right hand, yet would I pluck thee thence." In other words, this man, he was going to be removed from his position. Let's continue on, verse 25. "And I will give thee into the hand of them that seek thy life, and into the hand of them whose face thou fearest, even into the